Well, hello there, vinyl community. It's Mazzy here, and I'm with Pretty Green Vinyls, Edwin in British Columbia, Canada.
Thanks
Uh,
for having me again, Mazzy.
oh yeah,
Um,
I think we had a good back and forth last time.
yeah, but I hear we're going to run a marathon today.
Yeah, this is the marathon, and this is the Neil Young discography. So take a bathroom break, put it on pause. We are going to have a little break in the middle, a little sort of section. I'm personally one that doesn't like doing multi-part videos. I figure, yeah, stop it, watch it next week or tomorrow. You don't have to watch it all at once because this will be well over an hour. If it's too long for you, stop right now and in the description section, pull that little arrow so you see descriptions. Nobody ever looks at that crap apparently. And look at a Neil Young video I did last year on his discography, and it's 23 seconds. So if you can't handle an hour plus, there's 23 seconds there.
All right, we're done.
Yeah, that's it. I thought it was great doing this with Edwin because most of you probably know Neil Young is from Canada, been living in the States for many decades now. Actually, just this past
Just
year,
got his citizenship.
he's a citizen.
Yeah.
So I guess he's a dual citizen of Canada and was he from Alberta? Alberta?
He was born in Toronto, and
Okay.
then when his parents divorced, he lived in Winnipeg quite a bit. And he actually wrote, because the Guess Who were from Winnipeg, and he wrote one of their first songs.
American Woman? No, not that.
Right?
Right.
No, they were still like, I think it was pre-Guess Who, like
Okay.
Randy Bachman and Friends or something, I don't know.
Okay, well, there you go. So we're going to go in chronological order. We're not doing Buffalo Springfield records. We're not doing Crosby, Stills, Nash Young records. We're emphasizing on vinyl, yet there's going to be CDs in order. There are a handful that both of us are missing. There's a lot of things. Now, again, this isn't a definitive biography. So you guys out there are going to know something. Any one record, you're going to know more. Just put it in the comments and tell us that we made a mistake or there's this great little trivia we don't know about. And sometimes it's just the music. I think on every Neil Young record, there's some great tracks, and we'll talk about it as we go along. And you know, sometimes he walks through it, and then there's the infamous '80s Geffen years. So, without further ado, do you want to start off? And
yeah, well, I guess this is where we start, right? The self-titled solo album when he walked away from Buffalo Springfield. Now, I think you're probably going to love this record because your buddy Ry Cooder is on this and he produces it, right?
well, he co-produces it, and I think is it Van Dyke Parks is on this. What I do like about this is a lot of orchestration, so it's probably more of a pop record. If you
yeah, because how do you say his name? Jack Nietzsche.
Jack Nietzsche did all
who
the
was Wall of Sound, right?
Right. Jack Nietzsche did the orchestration. It sounds in a way like a Buffalo Springfield, like the later Buffalo Springfield album, without the rest of the band. You know, beautiful record. Again.
Yeah, I mean, I love The Loner. I love the opening instrumental, The Emperor of Wyoming.
Yeah.
And the closing track, The Last Trip to Tulsa. I mean, I just did that video on the best closing tracks, and that easily could have been in there.
Exactly. This is an original copy because the original version did not have his name, the original pressing, and
this
came
is
out
like a second or third edition, and then this is a new
reissue.
Yeah,
those reissues are really good because they're all analog masters. The Neil Young archive set, are really good. I don't have most of those because I have good copies, but there are a few I picked up along the way when we get into that.
Yeah, my this one's kind of beat, so I wanted a nice one.
Yeah, early 1969 this came out.
Yeah, January 22nd. I was 1 year old, almost to the day.
Well, I was 14. No, 15. 14. Okay. That's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Okay. I love this record, and this to me changed it up. The second album, 1969, also May. Oh God,
that's right. He did 2 in 1 year.
Amazing. Now this
Yeah.
this is the one where we really got to know the whole thing about Crazy Horse, where they got into what would happen for the rest of his career with them in life is these long-winded jams, which I really like. Some
Me
people get
too.
a little bored with them, but um, obviously Cinnamon Girl is a great song, a great short, almost like a rock pop single. But
Yep.
Down by the River and
Amazing.
Cowgirl in the Sand are the two that became sort of mainstay things. There's a great video on YouTube you can see when they were on a American TV show called Music Scene when it was Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, because that was done around this time. And he
Yeah,
did
he did
do a
that
live,
right after.
yeah, they do a live version of Down by the River with Steve Stills and him doing a great back and forth guitar thing. But again, one of my favorite Neil Young records. By
Yeah,
great record.
absolutely. Yeah, the first album with Crazy Horse. And he tended to do that. He would do one album in a year and then a second one with Crazy Horse. He did that a couple of times looking chronologically.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. And as we get along into this video, you'll see this pattern, and it's not like a mathematical pattern where it has two acoustic, two country, one jammy, one Crazy Horse, one, I don't want to say avant-garde, but like wild albums, because he certainly had that sentiment where I think what's great about him, he liked to experiment a lot and do things his way, which sometimes
Yeah,
got in the way because he's a bit of a wanker when it comes to deciding he's going to put something out, then changing his mind at the last minute. So
but I think all the greats have done that, right? I mean, anyone that has had careers
a lot of
this
them,
long,
yeah,
the Stones, McCartney, whatever, like they
yeah.
have to experiment. They have to try and
But
sometimes it works, sometimes
Neil
it
Young
doesn't, right?
sometimes it changes mind and doesn't give a shit about the other people if they're coming along or gets dragged along. So
Right.
hey,
Now, this was your favorite album when we did our little video last time.
my favorite Neil Young record. If I had to pick one,
Right.
after Gold Rush.
After the Gold Rush. Um, again, it's just the title track is amazing. Southern Man, his whole thing with Leonard Skinner.
Yeah,
And
1970 or 71 is it? 70.
this
Yeah.
came out September 19th, 1970.
1970. Nils Lofgren's on it, who was on and off again. In fact, when we get to the end here, in 6 days from now, there'll be that last Colorado with Nils Lofgren's kind of full circle playing with him again. Nils Lofgren had a bunch of solo albums. He had his own band with his brother called Grin, and of course, the last 30 years he's been in the E Street Band with Bruce Springsteen.
Right. Yeah, there was that video going around about best keyboard players.
Ah.
And he would have been a great addition to that list.
Well, he used to jump. I mean, he's a guitar player, and he's the one he's short guy. When he used to play on his own, he would do these backwards jump with his electric guitar on, and
Yeah.
do jams and stuff. So pretty cool. So I love the songs on this album. I think Southern Man obviously is the one that he started playing after the Gold Rush. Don't Let It Bring You Down. Oh Lonesome Me. Beautiful singing. Some of his best singing ever.
Yeah. And also Stephen Stills, his nemesis, right, is on this.
Yep.
They're on again, off again.
Yeah. People always wonder why, like, if he's such a wonker, why did he join Crosby, Stills and Nash? Because their first time
Right.
was great. But the truth is, he was brought in. I think Mo Austin or whoever from Warner Brothers said, if you guys are going to tour, you need another musician. Because on the first CSN album, I think Stills played almost all the guitars, and they needed someone on the road, so they brought him in, which was a little tempestuous.
And he would only join if they put the Young on the end, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Well, of course, Harvest is probably his most famous, most popular hit album after the Gold Rush. A great record. I mean, right after the Gold Rush. I love this record. I give the other one the edge. Again, Jack Nitzsche does some of the orchestration on this.
Yes.
Heart of Gold.
And this is the Stray Gators get introduced on this.
Right.
Co-produced one of his other backing bands.
Yeah, Elliot Major co-produced this, who had worked with Big Brother and many other things. This is a great record. I mean, this is a record that everyone, when they think of Neil Young, if they're, I have to say, novices or amateurs, this is the one they go to. And this record, I think, turned out to be sort of a wonderful thing for Neil Young, and also a bitter pill, because he had to follow it up, and a lot of shit happened after this record. And
Right.
everyone wanted him to repeat and do this kind of singer-songwriter kind of country thing like James Taylor was doing, or Joni Mitchell, a little harder. But I think he didn't want to be pigeonholed. And he went. I love the orchestration on this. I think one of the funniest songs, in a weird way, is "A Man Needs a Maid," which is a bizarre
Yeah.
song, but sort of misogynistic. Maybe it depends. It could be a male maid, I guess. But love this record.
Yeah, I love, of course, Old Man and the Needle and the Damage Done. I mean, just amazing stuff, right?
Exactly.
Then I think, if I'm right, is that right?
Nope. Almost. You have this?
Oh, I do
Okay.
have that.
Okay, well, I'll go on this one, then you'll go the next one. We can alternate if we get to that situation where you don't have something. Time Fades Away. This was the first of 3 albums, what became known years later as the Ditch. There we go. Ditch Trilogy.
I knew I had it.
There we go. The Ditch Trilogy. Danny Whitten from Crazy Horse had OD'd. He was getting divorced from his wife. All the success of Harvest kind of like set a lot of things in motion. I mean, coincidentally. And he started, everyone wanted another Harvest, and he put this out. To this day, I think he says this is his least favorite album. Produced by Elliot Mazer, Neil Young again, but it's just a wild record. Journey in the Past, L.A., The Bridge.
Mine came with this cool poster inside.
Yeah. He always had this handwriting in his lyrics. Sometimes they're really hard. At least that's larger. You can read it. I don't think I have I have the poster. This is I got it. This is an original copy, a promo copy I got clipped. I don't know what else to say for it. It gets Johnny Barbado on drums, Tim Drummond, Ben Keith, and Jack Nitzsche. I kind of like it, but all of a sudden I remember these next 3 albums at the time were a bit of a disappointment for people that really wanted more Harvest.
Yeah, I think I honestly haven't listened to this album in a long time, but I know LA I really like, and The Bridge.
A lot of this period, I think, again, these 3 albums, the Ditch Trilogy, at the time, most people didn't get them. It's funny how everyone, as we get into the next 2, I mean, once you grab the next one, you can start that. But at the time, people really didn't love these records. And now they're considered, some of his best to some people.
Yeah, this was my first Neil Young record, because my father had this in his collection.
And did you like it right off the top?
And no, I hate it. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I would just randomly put his records on, as a teenager, and I'd be like, what the heck is this?
I mean,
and
Vampire Blues, Ambulance.
Yeah.
Blues, now they're great. They hold up now. But at the time, like, what the fuck is this going on, right?
Right. Yeah, this is definitely a great example of an album that kind of bombed when it first came out. And then, 15 years later, people went, wait a minute.
Well, right. This kind of sound, think of this is what, 1973 or 74? This sound wasn't happening then, at least. Everyone was still in the singer-songwriter thing. It was before punk even hit in. There's prog stuff and the Eagles and that kind of easy, peaceful, easy feeling stuff going on. And this is gritty, dirgy, kind of depressing in a way.
Super depressing. Super depressing. And then even the cover, right? He's turning his back to...
Exactly. Like 20 years later, you realize why, he was kind of coined the father of grunge, or the godfather of grunge, because this is almost like an early sign of what grunge would be. A lot of just not nasty, jammy, compressed guitars coming out of amps, a lot of distortion.
Now, had you seen him by this time, Mezzy, or?
Yeah, well, the first time I saw him was between after the Gold Rush and Harvest at Winterland in San Francisco, and so that would have probably 73. So before this stuff came out, they're right in that golden era. He played Winterland a couple nights, and Linda Ronstadt opened for him, and
Okay.
sang with them a little bit. She hadn't really broke yet, or it was around. It was just before When Will I Be Loved and Heart Like a Wheel came out. So she had what 4 or 5 albums by then, but the Heart Like a Wheel album is the one that really pushed her over. I think that was also in '74, as I recall. And so that I just seen him then. It was great.
Have you seen? Did you see him with Crosby, Stills and Nash? Or
Once.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They used to have these things. Bill Graham, who produced the stuff at Winterland and the Fillmore West, used to have in the '70s called Days on the Green. And all summer they're at the Oakland Coliseum, the outdoor baseball park, and they would have
Okay, cool.
major things like the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac and two other bands, or
Right,
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. That's when I was working the record business. So most of the time we got either cheap or free tickets, because those places hold what 40,000 people, whatever. So I
right.
saw them, and I liked them, but I like Neil Young almost separate. I think he tries to take over with those guys, and as we all know, following that story, it's like any two people would argue and like over the years, and now Crosby and Nash hate each other, and those two are
Right.
this
And they were the best friends.
right.
Right. Yeah,
Anyway,
I saw the with Pearl Jam, the Mirror Ball.
uh,
We'll talk about later.
yeah.
And I also saw the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young tour. What was that album? America or something? It was a horrible album.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
even have it. I kind of stopped after the last one I got of them was the one when they're on the boat, CSN. Is
Right.
that with Dark Star, not the or Dark and Cathedral, and yeah, I kind of jumped
Yeah,
off.
it was that one. Yeah, it was that sort of comeback tour and album. Anyway,
Well, then they did the one years later when I think it was because of Neil Young got all pissed off at the war and George Bush, and they went on the road and they were pissing audiences off because it was all
right.
anti-Bush, anti that, and people were booing them. There's a documentary of that tour. I mean, it's really I think it was the War album. I have it on CD or Living with War. God, yeah. I didn't see the tour, but I've seen the documentary. So.
So I guess in chronological order, the next album hasn't even come out yet.
Homegrown.
Homegrown.
We could mention it. Tell us what you know about it.
So Homegrown was in typical Neil Young fashion. He recorded an album and decided he didn't like anything about it, so he shelved it. And it's going to be released, I think June 19th. I read.
Yeah, it was going to
Coming
be a
up.
Record Store Day issue, but then since Record Store Day got shoved around and split up, they decided to put it out. So I actually pre-ordered a copy at my local because it's coming out in a month or 3 weeks or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Now some of the songs did show up on other albums.
Yeah, I don't even
think
know
on
which
Zuma.
one. That's where I lost it. I mean, I don't remember what's on what because he does recycle things. He starts something and change it around.
I want to say Stupid Girl, maybe. Yeah, I just read it this morning. I should have written it down. Anyway, some of the songs do appear later.
We can put that on our sequel. We can maybe do a joint record review when that comes out.
All right. But yes, other than that, you are correct.
It's the Third in the Ditch series.
Third in the Ditch series, but again, one that came back to be, one of his most popular,
right,
and critically acclaimed albums.
I remember getting this, and again, this is my copy because I kept buying his records for whatever, and I'd play them once or twice, and literally put them on. Like this is a perfect record, and it's like what 45 years old, and I hardly played it early on. Again, it was droney. I wasn't into that kind of sound then.
Well, and this, when you talk about depression, of course, this was the huge part of the depression, right? This is now, what's his name's passed away. Why can't I think of his name right now?
Not Danny Whitten, still?
Yes.
Yeah, well, Danny Whitten's the one. Yeah, this whole series, he OD'd.
Right.
Yeah. And another guy who played.
He just played on one of the songs. I guess they pulled an old song.
Right.
And
And later, one of the archive live recordings was a lot of these songs he was playing live around Hollywood. I think I forgot which one, the Cellar Door, maybe one of those live
Right. Yeah,
which
Come On Baby, Let's Go Downtown. That was a Danny Whitten song that he performs on.
Right.
And I
This is
guess
a
what
great
was the
record
story
now.
that he'd given Danny money to fly home or something, but he spent the money on heroin and died?
Yep. Yep. I mean, this is again. I didn't get this at the time, and now, of course, I love it. And I don't think a lot of people got it at the time. Everyone likes to say, "Oh, I always love that album." It wasn't what
Right.
was happening, and I'm sure some people did, but I'm not going to say I'm one that understood this series of records at the time. It wasn't into what I was experiencing, but I'm glad I didn't dump them. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Does yours have the textured cover?
yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well, that's why those reissues, I don't have those, but I've seen them. They sound amazing. I've heard a couple of them.
Yeah, no, that's an original Canadian pressing.
Oh, nice, nice.
Kind of have a mixture of stuff.
I think we're at Zuma now, right?
Zuma, right? Yeah.
Another one with Crazy Horse.
Yep. Cortez the Killer. Wow.
Cortez the Killer is one of those songs that became one of his most iconic and famous of the jammy songs. At the time,
Yes.
again, I don't think it got its due.
And it's like, how long is it? 14 minutes or something like that?
It's up there, yeah. Crosby, Stills and Nash are on
Oh, sorry, 7.5.
Yeah. Crosby, Stills and Nash sing on the final closing song, Through My Sails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could remember what song was from Homegrown, but anyway, someone will tell us.
And Zuma Beach, a famous beach in Southern California. I assume that's what it's from. I don't even know, but.
Well, you think with the seagull and the ship and stuff, it's probably a beach, right?
Could be. I'm throwing this in here. We originally weren't going to put it in, but I'm going to at least mention it. The Stills Young Band. I think a lot of people did not like this. I really like this album, especially the opening track, "Long May You Run." I think
right.
It's one of
that was the big hit, right?
Things, and I think sometimes Stephen Stills is the one member of that band that can calm or be an equal to Neil Young in Neil's mind, because Stephen Stills is an amazing guitar player. I would argue he's a better guitar player than Neil Young, although I think he made a limited amount of great records on his own. His first two, but especially his first solo album, is a really wonderful record.
Yeah.
But I like this record. It's got.
I do like those. Is it Manasseh?
Manassas, yeah. There's several of the musicians from Manassas. The first Manassas, there's only two. There's the double one, and then the double one live. There's a live.
Yeah.
But that first one is great because it's cut up in different, like the big band stuff.
Yeah, there's 4
the country stuff.
genres or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I never see people talking about that. But that first Manassas album is really good. I think this is a good album. It's not a great album, but has some great cuts. And I think they work well together. They kind of trade off on their songs. But, I just love that Neil Young ran with what he had, because even back in the Springfield, several of the best written Neil Young songs, they kind of, I don't know whose decision it was, whether it's the producers at the time or the band, wouldn't let Neil Young sing because people thought his voice was too nasal. And he's got a strange voice if you're not into it. And Richie Furay sang a couple of his songs beautifully, by the way, but with the Springfield.
Do you have this one?
Yes, but I included that in my in the archive series.
Okay, so we won't talk about it right now.
Yeah, let's put it away. That'll be for bathroom break time. I just wanted to have a little break. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Stars and Bars.
1977, American Stars and Bars. It does have that great song. What's it called? It's this again with Crazy Horse on side 2, Crazy Horse and the Bullets on side 1. All over this album is Nicolette Larson and Linda Ronstadt, and I think A Lot of Love is on here. let's see.
Will to Love?
No, maybe I'm thinking of a different album. Oh, Like a Hurricane is on here. That
This
was
says Like a Hurricane is the,
yeah.
yeah.
No, a lot of love. A Lot of Love was a song that I think he wrote that Nicholas Larson had a hit with. She was a singer-songwriter on signed to Warner Brothers, did backups singing with Linda Ronstadt and Neil Young, and unfortunately died at a young age of cancer.
Right.
So she had
This is
one
the
hit.
one where he has a couple with Emmylou Harris.
Yeah, exactly. This is a beautiful record, actually. I like this
Yeah,
record.
it is a good record.
Yeah. Old Country Waltz is a great thing with Linda and Nicolette singing. I actually like the cover. It's a little wonky, but I think it's fun.
Yeah. It's great.
I got to listen to this in a while. Again, Ralph Molina, Billy Talbot. So he's got his, this is 1975, I think, or 6. Anyway.
77.
See, time goes by when you're having a blast with Neil Young. He put so many friggin' records out. Okay, I think we should just show this, whether we have to, and I have a little story about it. This is a little break. I wasn't going to show comps, but I think Decade is an important comp, and I suggest anyone who doesn't have any Neil Young records, this is an amazing record. 3 records. It goes from Buffalo Springfield, basically 1967 and 1977.
Yeah, you get a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I remember this is when I was working at this record factory store, it's called in San Francisco, and we got the list and we pre-ordered this record. It was going to come out, I think, in the year before it actually came out. And a friend of mine who was the Warner Brothers rep came in. He says, "Oh, Neil Young, that record, they canceled it, but I got these cover slicks." So he gave me actually an empty cover slick. And we thought the record would never come out. And of course, typical Neil fashion, is about to come out and he cancels it for whatever reason. And then a year later, I think, a year and a half later, he finally releases it. And that was, I guess, in 1976, 77, probably 77. I think originally it was going to come out in 75. But anyway, great record, right? It's a really nice listen.
For me, my first Neil Young that I bought, of course, was Freedom.
Uh-huh.
And then I had to go back and, get the old stuff. And I bought this on CD. And this is how I learned about all the older Neil Young songs, right? I mean, It's a brilliant comp.
It's one of those perfect comps. And it actually it ends with Long May You Run from the Steve Stills Neil Young band.
That's right.
Needle and Damage Done, Tonight's the Night. So a lot of those songs, I remember when I got this, a lot of the songs that I didn't really know or get from those, from the Ditch trilogy, there's several on here that I started appreciating more, taken out of context of the real album. But yeah, I like this.
Yeah, because you got Tonight's the Night's on here.
Right. I think this is a must. I mean, this is a perfect introduction for anyone who doesn't have much Neil Young. I mean,
100%.
Yeah. Even before you get the greatest hits record, in my opinion.
We up to this?
I
don't have that record.
This is a good record. It's again, it goes back to a little more of his acoustic, so it harks back to Harvest a little bit. So I think a lot of people did like it because it has that acoustic sound. Comes a Time. Oh, here's where Lot of Love is. That song Lot of Love that Nicholas Larson would record. He records a version because he wrote it. That's why it's on it. That's why I remember. Human Highway, which became a staple later on, I think on some of his live records with Crazy Horse. Motorcycle Mama. Got a great, one of my favorite songs written about and by a Canadian is on here. And he covers it. 4 Strong Winds by Ian Tyson, Ian and Sylvia.
Yes.
That is such a beautiful song. I mean, I love Ian and Sylvia's version, but I think I like Neil's better in a weird way. But that's on here. That closes the album. So it's one of the few times he actually covers a song. And I remember hearing an interview at one time when I forget when the interview was, but he was in some bar in Winnipeg or somewhere in Canada, out like in the I don't know if that's the boonies. I apologize, but
In the prairies, yeah.
it was kind of out at some bar that had his jukebox, and on it was Four Strong Winds by Ian and Sylvia, and he kept playing it over and over and over again. And it's just a gorgeous song. So anybody out there, go listen to Four Strong Winds after you hang up here.
All right.
Okay. Anyway, okay, now the one that you have next. Yeah.
Yeah. Rust Never Sleeps. Again, the whole jammy Crazy Horse thing, right?
Yeah, part of this was recorded live, and then they did a lot of studio overdubs. We probably can show these together, maybe, if you have. I don't know if you have this live.
I don't have live. No, I don't have. Oh, do I do? I doubt myself.
Yeah, they're sort of companion pieces in a way. I mean, you know, they both have the name Rust in the name, and it's just the one where they have, yeah, Hey Hey My, and this is, you know, about Johnny Rotten. This is the story of Johnny Rotten. That became, he was sort of getting his mojo back. I think this is the period of time where what would be the grunge community and a different kind of community started getting into them. It wasn't people expecting Harvest anymore.
Right.
And it was that jammy thing that he would do for the rest of his life occasionally. I mean, this has some songs from here, but all live. This is a double record, live Rust. Again, really loud, a thick record, loud. So it's not for someone who wants the mellow Neil Young, like on a Sunday morning.
I mean, I guess it's kind of like Dylan, right? When he started off and when he went to Newport and cranked it up with the band, and everyone went, no.
Yeah, but
it's a similar kind of idea, right?
He goes on for 10 or 15 minutes, unlike Dylan, I guess.
Yeah.
I like these records, but again, at the time, I like these albums more now than I did at the time. Again, I was kind of getting into this stuff, and you know, the punk thing was starting to happen, and a lot of these punk artists would poo-poo the Eagles or Crosby, Stills, Nash, that kind of mellowy, crappy sound. And Neil Young really went with it. So he was one that they respected, I think, a lot of people in punk music, even though he went on for 15 minutes, unlike 2-minute punk songs.
Okay, so on this album is one of my favorite Neil Young songs, Pocahontas. Oh,
yeah.
Which was supposed to be on this album that we were going to show later, Hitchhiker.
Oh, that's right.
So this was, again, an album he recorded in, when did he do this? 77?
77. Yeah, talk about it now. When I get to those records, we can pass it by. I'll show it in time, but talk about it, because he held that stuff back too.
Correct, yeah.
So crazy.
So until this came out, Pocahontas showed up on this album.
Right, the live one, or live.
Have you ever just read the lyrics of Pocahontas all the way through?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's insane. So basically, the premise is that he goes back in time and sleeps with Pocahontas, and then he brings her to the future, and she gets to meet Marlon Brando.
Oh, right.
Which goes on to his whole thing with trying to save the Sioux Nation. When he had the girl go up and collect his Oscar, and
right.
Yeah, cool stuff. So check out Pocahontas.
Okay, moving right along.
We're on this one, right?
Yep.
So this was basically, even this was you say, stuff that was left over from, I think, Harvest, right?
I don't remember. You probably know this better than I do. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so, that some of these were some older written songs he had laying around. Some of them go back to the Harvest days. Like the Old Homestead.
This is October 1980 this came out.
Yeah, because even the Old Homestead is recorded at the Quadraphonic Sound Studio in Nashville, which is where he recorded Harvest. And you can see that there's other songs recorded all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah, as I recall, it's not a real consistent record, but again, his stuff always has some amazing tracks. But even his weak songs are really interesting. He's a
Yeah,
good
I think
artist.
if I remember side one, because it has there's two different labels, the blue and the red.
Oh, right, right.
So I think the blue side one was leftover songs, and then side two were new songs for this album,
I did not
if
know
I
that.
remember correctly. But yeah, not one I usually ever put on. Do you ever listen to this?
Not a lot.
Right.
Yeah. But you know, it's funny. Over the last, not funny, but over the last couple of weeks, since Edwin and I spoke about doing this a couple of weeks ago, I actually put a little, almost like a help wanted sign, like bass player wanted. I wanted someone to do a Neil Young thing because I knew it was going to be so long, and I didn't want to do it alone. I think it's more interesting going back and forth with someone. And you know, I had a couple people say, "Yeah, I don't have a lot of Neil Young, but I'd love to do it." And I just, no offense to anyone, I'd have to have some of it. And I thought it'd be great also having, as I said, someone, a Canadian, jump in here.
Having a
So,
Canadian. Talk
yeah.
about the Canadian.
Eh? So
Eh?
you, Blues Guy Vinyl, Rachel, Jamie Cottle, who else is there? You know, there's a handful. Anyway,
Rachel, the Music Man.
yeah, I mentioned Rachel.
She's just down the road from me.
Right. If I do Beatles, I'll do it with her, but you know, I'm not Neil Young. No offense, Rachel. Okay, this is problematic. Do you have this?
I don't have that one.
Yeah, you don't need it.
No.
Reactor, 1981, on Reprise, and I think, as I recall, this was his last album for Reprise for a while.
That's right.
Pardon me?
I do know that. Yeah, that was his last one.
Motorcycle City, Southern Pacific. Now, this is probably one I've listened to less than almost any record here. So I don't even know what to say about it. You know, someone else can write their thoughts on this. Again,
yeah, I got nothing.
As I was saying though, I had to take a drive a couple of weeks ago, and I put about 15 Neil Young records on my phone for the car and just played all this stuff. So I got to listen again to a lot of those tracks that I hadn't heard in a while, because I actually put it on random. And it's really great when something comes up and I go, what the fuck is that? What is that? And so it was interesting. Every once in a while there was a clunker, but I found almost everything enjoyable, especially while you're driving.
Did you have that album on your 15?
I did, and to be honest with you, now I don't remember what came about here. And it's funny, I don't see, aside from lyrics here, I don't see any other credits, unless I'm missing a sheet or something, which could be the case, but I don't remember an insert sheet in this. But anyway, Reactor, if someone loves this album, write it in the comments.
I don't think there's going to be a long list of that.
Hey, you'd be surprised. There's someone out there. All right.
There's a Neil Young record for everyone.
Well, like anything, right? You know?
Right.
Some people like Phil Collins.
Or Billy Joel.
Or Billy Joel. Do you have trans?
I do not have trans.
Okay. David Geffen, the infamous David Geffen, who was at Asylum Records for years, starts his own label. And he gets Neil Young, he gets Joni Mitchell, he gets John Lennon, who's coming back to make a record, John and Yoko. One of the first, not the first, I don't think, one of the first albums that Geffen released was Double Fantasy, 1980. You know, became a huge hit for them. Unfortunately, not because, you know, the record had gone up and was, you know, selling okay. It wasn't a huge hit, but unfortunately, when John died, it really kind of went crazy. Now, what the fuck are you thinking, Neil Young? This is the album that people love to dump on. This is Neil Young. I don't know if you remember, there's videos of him. He was doing like the voice box and electronic stuff. And, you know, this is the 80s. What year is this? 1981? Let's see here. This is
82.
Oh, 82. Okay. We're already into the 80s. And you know what was going on in the 80s, don't you? All that electronic stuff and digital drums and
My era.
yeah, you know, this is his Wang Chung record, almost, not quite actually. You know, it it's a mess. It's kind of the thing where, okay, you want to have fun. You know, I love when artists will do a record. They might put some out as a budget or a bonus record and want to play around. But can you imagine, well, which we'll take on to the story in the next few records, Neil Young gets signed to Geffen Records and he's putting out this crap. Now, I don't remember. Oh, he actually does a cover of Mr. Soul, his own song on here. I forgot about that. Computer Cowboy, Little Thing Called Love, Computer Age. I mean, this is him trying to be a computer geek. I don't
Like
know.
Kraftwerk.
Yeah, exactly. But not, but Kraftwerk is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what was in his mind, if he was trying to do it seriously or thinking maybe he was getting lost in the 80s and want to try something. And this is early 80s. This is 82. So I
Right.
have no idea. I think I got a promo of this, or I might have bought it. I can't.
I mean, I know Geffen has the, he's always seems to be quite the asshole, but honestly, if that was the album Neil Young made for me, I'd be pissed off too.
You know, he's a good businessman. You got to be a little of a shyster to be a good businessman. You can't be a yes man all the time. You know, we know what
Right.
happens with that. And Niels Lofgren's on it, Ben Keith, Joe Layla, who played with Manassas, also Ralph Molina, some of the usual suspects. But it's problematic. I don't need to say any more about it. Trans. Do you have many of these? And then he decides, well, after I do an electronic album, let's do a 50s doo-wop album, The Shocking Pinks.
Yeah, because
like
after Trans, Geffen wanted a rock album, right?
Yeah, well, I did a rock album from the fucking 50s. I kind of like this record. This is loaned for promotional. This is a promo copy, so I think at some point I need to give it back. It's been 40. It's been 35 years. Oh, he brings in, I forgot, Elliot Mazer co-produced it again, who had worked on him with Harvest. So he kind of, I mean, everybody rocking. Kind of Fonda Wanda, could be like maybe a homage to Wanda Jackson. I don't know. Paola Blues. This is not a bad album. It's a gimmick album. And this is before, I think this is before, maybe it's around the same time as the Stray Cats.
Yeah.
No, that's an interesting question.
It would have been very close, yeah, because this was 83.
Yeah.
That probably is around the time the first Stray Cats album came out.
Stray Cats did it really well. You know, there was a lot of these bands doing sort of the retro 50s things, you know, post-punk and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, because I even remember, like, I started listening to Eddie Cochran and Gene Vincent and people like that, especially from the Stray Cats, right?
He's got that 50s little
yeah, he's got the...
Anyway, but this record didn't do anything either. So I could see Geffen stewing in his office over this stuff.
Right?
Right. Okay, so next time he tries, I don't know if you have this. Old Way.
No.
Just by looking at the cover, it looks like he's trying to walk back to Harvest a little bit. Looks like, and that's the thing.
And he calls it a Harvest companion piece, right?
Does he? Okay. See,
yeah.
I think, well, later we'll get to Harvest Moon, which I actually really love. I love that record. There's some good stuff on getting back to Get Back to the Country, The Wayward Wind, California Sunset. I like this record. It wasn't a huge hit because I think people, again, in the 80s, a lot of people weren't listening to this kind of stuff. So that he had like a lot of artists who came out of the late 60s and the 70s, had a rough time holding their own in the 80s. Because you know, you could try to jump on the digital bandwagon and be trendy and just fall flat. I mean, David Bowie is one of the few that can kind of morph, and even if you don't like everything he does.
Yeah, he started off strong, right? Let's Dance was amazing, and then
I even like I like Blue Jean with the blue cover.
Right.
But this is again,
yeah, I mean, you're right. Even McCartney, right? I mean, I don't think the 80s were great
No, I think
for Paul.
Types of Peace is terrible record, but
Right.
yeah,
Say.
yeah. Ugh. It's as much as I love the Beatles, I love to, I'm not apologetic, but I still buy them. I think he tried here, but this was lost. Maybe some older people were buying him who love Neil Young and were satisfied with it, because it's not a bad record. It's just it was probably the right record at the wrong time, maybe.
Talk about the 3 weirdest records to put out in a row, eh? Trans,
Exactly.
Everybody's Rocking. What's that one called?
Wait till we get to the next one here. I think this was his. I don't remember now. One of these, he eventually, again, I don't know exactly what year, David Geffen finally sues Neil Young for basically, you haven't put out any good records. You're putting out uncommercial, bullshit. Neil Young then puts this record out. I mean, talk about landing on water. It almost looks like a crash landing, like a disaster film for Geffen Records. Neil Young and Danny Kortchmar co-produced. Danny Kortchmar was a guitar player that worked for years with James Taylor. I don't remember much of this record either. This is one of those records that I just didn't play a lot. Again, I got it when it came out. I played it and probably shelved it. So I don't know really what to say about this. This is one
I've never heard it.
Yeah, I'll probably put it on again this week. 1986, during the Geffen Records debacle.
Yeah, it's an album. I've never heard a good thing about it. I had it in my hand a couple of times, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to pay money for this.
Yeah, I think if you find it cheap, it's worth getting. And then the last record, I got promos because they're clipped. That's right. I knew got Warner Brothers, and they distributed these Geffen. The last Geffen record, I think. Yeah. And then we'll have a break. We'll go to the archive series, live stuff. But this Life, Neil Young and Crazy Horse again, which I love. There's some good stuff on here, but again, it's not a great record. Produced by David Briggs and Neil Young. Some of it's produced by Jack Nitzsche again. He keeps bringing Jack Nitzsche into it. Billy Talbot, Ralph Molina. So the same kind of thing. Peggy's on it finally, and Peggy is the woman he'd marry, they were married to up until about 5, 6, 7 years ago when he and her got divorced. She passed away just about a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And he started putting on, not quite, a little later than this, I guess in the 90s or 2000s, the Bridge concert at now down in Redwood City in the South Bay near San Jose. These benefits for the Bridge School, which was he had 2 of his kids are autistic, I think.
Korea.
And he would do these great things. I went to about 3 or 4 of them. They were great. It's mostly like unplugged shows in this Shoreline Amphitheater. And I've seen acoustic performances of Neil Young and CSN and Paul McCartney and Tony Bennett and Pearl Jam. And so always has interesting mix of artists there. And they're really quite a wide variety. They raise a lot of money.
Yeah, there's that video he does, because I guess what he got into was building model train sets.
Oh, right.
And he would invite all these kids that were, handicapped.
From the Bridge School.
From the Bridge School. And they would, spend a day watching, and we're talking hundreds of trains and stuff. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And now what is he, Mrs. Daryl Hannah now, right?
Yeah. He married a mermaid. Exactly. Yes. Okay. Let's take a little moment. Everyone, if you want to push pause now and go take a piss or have a glass of water or something. And I thought this next section, I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. In what year was this? In 2003 or 4 or 6, I can't remember. He started doing the archive series, which basically were unreleased live records. And he put out semi-audio file recordings on CD and on LP. And this was before the LP revival really started. And the first one, which I don't have on LP, but I'm going to show, that came out in this box that he put out around that time. He did this thing called the Neil Young, this, and he put it out in CD, DVD, Blu-ray. I mean, and he was going to do a whole series. This is actually volume 1. It says volume 1 somewhere. And
There's
it's
actually my local record store has that, but it's missing a CD.
Oh, you know which one?
I'm like,
yeah, you should find out which one, because a couple of these you can get single, but it's a great collection. But he never, of course, typical Neil fashion, he never did volume 2 or 3 or anything beyond.
right.
And it has some of the live stuff, one of which that came out on vinyl. And I was through a period I did not buy vinyl, and I'd like to find this on vinyl. It's Crazy Horse, Neil Young, Fillmore, 1970. Great live set. He's on the bill with Miles Davis opening for him.
Wow.
Amazing, right?
Yeah.
The only time I saw Miles Davis was in Stanford University opening up for the New Riders of the Purple Sage. What a bizarre that is. But this is really good. I'd like to find it on vinyl. I think it probably goes for a lot. But the one that I think we both have, which everybody should own, one of the best sounding, right? Massey Hall.
Amazing.
What can you say about this?
Well, Massey Hall is in Toronto. It's an amazing venue. I've seen a couple of concerts there, and it's actually being completely refitted right now. There was talk about tearing it down, but there was so much of an outcry from Torontonians that they decided to save it. And this is up 1971, so it's pretty early. You know, you're only talking about the first 4 or 5 albums, right?
Well, as I remember, this is an amazing recording, and he plays a lot of songs on this that would be on Harvest. He talks about Old Man when he bought the house, or he bought the ranch up above Redwood City.
So it's basically the first 4 albums.
Yeah.
And then he does this, amazing show.
If everybody wants like an audiophile live album, this is, of all these that we're showing right now, this is the one to get. It sounds fucking amazing.
It does, yeah. There's an amazing documentary on Gordon Lightfoot that takes place, which is someone nobody talks about Gordon Lightfoot. But
I love Gordon Lightfoot.
And the interview all takes place in Massey Hall when they're interviewing Gordon Lightfoot. It's a great interview. And actually going to Ian Tyson, he's featured in that documentary a lot because they were big friends.
Wow. I love that stuff. I mean, you've a lot of folk music and that kind of, and I just love that stuff. Yeah. The next one I'll show, which is a nice one, is Neil Young at the Cellar Door. And this again, I'm trying to remember when this was. What year was this? I forgot what year this is. This is a 70s recording as well. But it has, You Tell Me Why, After the Gold Rush, Expecting to Fly, Down by the River, Cinnamon Girl, So I Am a Child. So it's that kind of same period, a little later. Another great from the series.
Now I have in the archive series, it's not a live album, but it's his
the greatest hits.
The greatest hits.
That's real. I have that too. I didn't pull it, but that's really good.
Yeah. What's neat about this is it came with a single with the Loner on it, which was kind of cool.
Wow.
To celebrate his first. Do I have it in here? Yeah, so you got a replica of his first single with the Loner on it, nice. Which is kind of cool.
Very nice. He's done one thing I'll say about Neil Young. He's done a good thing. He was one that kind of is not a fan of compact discs, and he's really audiophile recordings, how vinyl is better. And he tried for a while. Yeah, I think now you can, through his site, you can download high-res files, but he tried that thing, the Pono, which was his version of an iPod, but for high-res files, and it kind of bombed after 2 or 3 years, unfortunately, I guess. I was not into that high-res file thing, but all the power to him,
Yeah, I love how this starts with side one is Down by the River and Cowgirl in the Sand. That's it. 20 minutes.
Oh, is it 45? Oh, it's the long versions. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Great assist.
Okay, I'll show this one because this is actually interesting. This is Neil Young and the Blue Note Cafe, and I believe this was recorded in the 80s. This is really good. This is he has a big band of about 10-piece band or so, horns, and it's very bluesy New Orleans. And so he kind of reworks a lot of his songs to fit this kind of bluesy format. And it works really well. It's a live album. This is the vinyl version that has 3 records. Yes, 3 records. Nothing to see there, but it's really good. Really well recorded. Again, it's got sort of the big band horn section, which you don't really think of Neil Young. But I'd say even getting the compact disc of this is well worth it, because this was in the car when I was driving around the last couple of weeks. And every time these songs would pop up, like I woke up again from driving, and it just was really a great groove to it, great arrangements, really different for Neil Young. And I'd forgotten how good this is. But from the live archive series. Oh, I feel like I'm in a Neil Young con. I just dropped everything.
You need to vacuum your floor.
Yeah. Anyway, we already talked about this. If you want to say any more about it.
This is a great sounding. I mean, you know, a lot of times when people bring out these lost albums or, you know, songs that were never released before, you think, yeah, do I really need this? But this is really good. This is a great listen. Great sound quality. Really good stuff.
Yeah, it is good. The Roxy Music in LA, he performed several nights while they were recording. Again, this is, I'm thinking 73, 4. I think around the time of Tonight's the Night, around the that period when things weren't.
Yeah, because Tonight's the Night actually was supposed to come out earlier, right? And he delayed it.
Yeah.
So I think it came out in 75.
Exactly.
So those are probably, like you say, 73-ish.
Yeah, Tonight's the Night, in fact, is on here. The song Tonight's the Night, Walk On. So they do a few songs that he was recording. I think they were trying to flesh things out. And they did Roxy is on the Strip, Sunset Strip in LA. So it's a smaller club. And he's done that. I've seen him twice occasionally play at these small venues down near Half Moon Bay in the mountains between Half Moon Bay and the San Francisco Peninsula, because he had his ranch there. So every once in a while you hear these rumors, and he would show up with some musician. They'd play like a night here and there. And I was able to see him twice in these venues that hold not even 100 people, you know, just jamming, very loose. And I think a lot of times he does that when he just feels like stretching, or I think he's also working out arrangements and working out songs.
Right.
So this is a cool thing. And then the last two, now I like this. This is Songs for Judy, excuse me, based on, because he mentions in the, it's another live thing. And this is from what they famously call the Joel Bernstein tapes. Joel Bernstein was a photographer and archivist. He all those CD box sets, they had the separate CD box sets for David Crosby, Graham Nash, Stephen Stills, and a lot of the CSN and CSNY box sets. Joel Bernstein has archived the recordings. He also has worked with Neil a lot as a guitar tech, and he's a photographer. In fact, the cover and the inside of my favorite Neil Young record, he did those photographs. Great photographer. Used to live in San Francisco, but these are from the Joel Bernstein tapes again. And Sugar Mountain is on here, Pocahontas. This Harvest, Heart of Gold. This is a really good recording, but he mentions Judy Garland in one thing. And when was this recorded? I should have remembered this. There's an interview here with Joel on here, and Cameron Crowe, the director, the writer-director. He used to write for Rolling Stone and directed Almost Famous. Recorded in 1976. So this solo. So this is a really good period. And in terms of the solo stuff, I suggest this.
Okay.
And lastly, I think the last one he's put out of this is Neil Young and the Stray Gators. Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I have that one. It's very good.
Yeah, and again, photographs by Joel Bernstein. It's a little more ragged, but it's ragged good. Crazy Horse
Yeah,
ragged.
this is really good. I just got this not that long ago, and I love it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Now, should we
Oh
throw
my
this in there?
God.
Do you have this?
I have it on CD, not on vinyl. So talk about it.
Yeah. So in the the MTV Unplugged movement that happened in what were these, around early 90s, 93, and I think Neil Young's producer talked him into doing this, and of course Neil hated it, and he tried to stop this from being released, and lucky for us he wasn't successful, because I think this is amazing.
Some of the, those artists did really good. Obviously, the Unplugged series, Dylan's is good. Obviously, we all know the two famous ones that were huge hits are Nirvana and Eric Clapton.
Clapton,
Right?
yeah,
Nirvana
yeah,
one is great too.
yeah. But this is a great album.
I like that one too.
And
The McCartney one's pretty good, not bad.
yeah, I have that one on CD somewhere, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, if you can find this, it's easier to find on CD for sure.
I got that when it came out on CD. I didn't know it was on vinyl, or I should have known. But okay, then Neil, now back from the grave after getting sued and some kind of settlement with Geffen Records, he goes back to Reprise Records and does this. And
Right.
this is pretty much that live album I just showed of the Blue Notes. This is the kind of stuff that, this is a studio record, but then he did that live one that's after this. So again, big band arrangements, new things, upbeat, horns, little New Orleans, Chicago blues-esque, pretty decent album. Nothing major, not a necessity, but I love that it was a different take on things. So, I got
he comes storming back.
Are we?
Right?
Oh, yeah. I only have that on compact discs. Okay, go ahead. I love that record.
So, like I was saying earlier, this was my introduction to Neil Young when I truly was buying my own music. And of course, this was all over MTV, and this sort of resurrected his career like nothing else could have, right? This was the one that changed it all. Rockin' in the Free World. What was the other big song on this?
Well, Wrecking Ball became a song that Emmylou Harris recorded on her album, self-titled, or not titled, Wrecking Ball. Great version of it.
Yes.
I think her version is there's two different versions of Rockin' the Free World, the electric and the acoustic.
That's right. And one opens and one closes.
Right. There's a cover of the old song On Broadway. In the neon lights are down on Broadway.
Yeah, very, very good album. And I think, for this era, it actually holds up not bad, because, that whole time frame gets a bit, But
it is a good sound. I got a pile of CDs here that I'm going to go through, and we can go back and forth, and I don't have any vinyl of these, and so it may take us a little out of order, but I thought I'd throw these, and I don't really have a lot to say. If you have anything Neon Young, Year of the Horse, it's a live thing with Crazy Horse.
No, I think I have that on vinyl, actually.
Oh, do you? Yeah, we want to see it.
Oh, no, I don't. It's a different one.
Okay. Yeah, he's made.
We'll get to that one.
He's made so many records. Now, this is a record I like, and I wish I had this on vinyl, and it's very expensive on vinyl. Sleeps with Angels. I love this record. There's a Safeway cart, Sleeps with Angels, Change Your Mind. Something about this record, there's kind of a weird song called Piece of Crap, which is kind of a dumb novelty song, but the rest of it is really good. So I'd love to have this on vinyl.
I've never even seen that before.
Good record. I mean, I'm sure you can get the CD cheap. Sleeps with Angels. It's a little dated now. This is probably early 90s. 1994. So I know we're going to get out of order a little bit. You showed this unplugged, so I don't need to show that again. Okay, these are companion pieces. Arc and Arc Weld. Do you have these on vinyl? I don't.
No.
Okay. Arc and Arc Weld, and then Weld. Some of this, I forgot, I think it's Arc, is challenging because basically it's a whole CD of feedback and guitar noise. And as I recall, is it the last time I saw Neil Young was at the Cow Palace, just south of San Francisco. And he brought on that tour to open for him Sonic Youth. And a lot of the Neil fans just couldn't handle Sonic Youth. I mean, you know, if you don't know Sonic Youth, noise.
Yeah.
You got to be in the mood. I like Sonic Youth. I didn't get them again early on, and now I love them. But again, I have to be in the mood. So they would open up, people would throw things, people would walk out. But Neil Young also sometimes would play with them, and he was doing this feedback stuff. And really, it's exactly what he was doing even before Sonic Youth existed occasionally.
Right.
So these were live things. Cinnamon Girl, Mansion on the Hill, Hey, Hey, Mine, Why. But just, these are really raunchy, loud, live stuff. But I don't even know if they ever came on vinyl. No, Neil Young, I think he put everything on vinyl a little bit, but these were again in the mid 90s. Again, not really successful. I think they're an acquired taste. And then lastly, for this section, Neil Young, Crazy Horse, Ragged Glory. Not a bad album. Do you have that? Oh, so you got the stuff I don't have on vinyl. We could get married and we'd have the whole Neil Young and vinyl collection.
Well, that was good timing because this came after Freedom. This was the next album.
Well, there you go. Okay.
So there you go. Right back on track. Yeah, this is a great album. This is, of course, back with Crazy Horse, Ragged Glory. Of course, this is his primer to the next one coming up that, again, is just an outstanding album. Yeah, when I saw him with Pearl Jam, which sort of continued in that Sonic Youth, I mean, the guitar solos went on for 12 minutes. I mean, it was crazy. And anyway, there's an album coming up with that too. But yeah, this is very good.
I got to listen to that again. Here we go. I think a great album.
Oh yeah, it's an outstanding album.
Some people didn't dig this, which really surprised me. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous record, Harvest Moon. I mean, some think it's a sequel to Harvest.
Yeah, for me, this was really the first Neil Young album I sort of, could get into from start to finish. It told a story. It had all the classic Neil Young, attributes that I think about from those early albums. But of course, I didn't know those albums at this time.
From Hank to Hendrix is a beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, amazing, right?
War of Man.
Such a good album.
Really well recorded. Again, more arranging from Jack Nietzsche on several tracks. But yeah, good album. Just came out only the last 5-6 years on vinyl, I think, or more recent.
Yeah, I actually used to listen to this on tape. I had the cassette was what I bought at that time.
Okay. Okay, here we go.
Peace with Angels. Do you have that?
I showed that. That's the one I showed on CD.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's the one I like.
Yeah.
I suggest that. This is really rare to find. And
yes,
I hate to say it, I haven't opened this yet because I have the CD, and I shared this last fall because I went to a record fair north of Seattle, and a guy had a copy of this, and he had it listed for $35.
Wow, that's a steal.
And it's like, it goes for 75 to 150 depending on, and I haven't opened it yet but I know the record from the CD. Neil Young spent some time doing some Tibetan benefit, and after that he was hanging around with Pearl Jam and hung out in Seattle, and I think we recorded this over several days. And this was a period of time Eddie Van Halen is not on it. And he was, I think, going through it. He was hiding out for a time because apparently there's some stalker after him. And they were just jamming. I think this really revitalized Neil with this band because they were just jamming and doing stuff that had done on Arc Weld and that a little bit. It's not a great record. It actually did pretty well. I think Pearl Jam also needed a kick in the ass. It was after Versus and after, I forgot which Pearl Jam it was after. I think it was after Vitology, maybe.
It was, yeah. Yeah, they might even have done the Dog record, the fourth album, and then, of course, going on tour with Neil kind of brought them back again.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, I remember this more from seeing it perform live, more so than sitting down and listening to the record. Because live, like I said, the jams went on for hours. It was crazy. Have you ever been to a concert where you almost get to the point where it's like, when is this going to end?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Like it was getting to that level.
Sometimes Grateful Dead shows I used to go to. I liked them, but they would play one song for 40 minutes. They played
right. Springsteen does that. Right?
Yeah, he'd go 3.5 hours. Can we go home now?
Yeah.
I'm switching over to CD a little bit. This record doesn't get a lot of love, and I actually just played it this morning. It's got some acoustic or low songs. It's called Broken Arrow, Neil Young, Crazy Horse, and Electric. It's decent. It's pretty good. You never see it. I have no idea if it's on vinyl. And then Road Rock with Neil Young. Oh, okay. We can go there.
Is that the next one?
I think in between that. Well, what is that? Silver and Gold?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. That's perfect.
So yeah, now we're into 2000s. This is his millennial album.
Before 2000 though, maybe this doesn't count, but it does, I think, is a soundtrack to Dead Man, Jim Jarmusch film with music by Neil Young, with Johnny Depp. Beautiful black and white film, a little surreal, a little spiritual, Indian spiritual. And he basically just a lot of feedback and guitar noises, pretty much all solo, with some poetry reading interspersed by Johnny Depp based on his character. I highly recommend this if you like the moody, kind of dirgy stuff. That's right before, okay. That's 1996. Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
now you're here.
Now we're here. Silver and Gold. I actually really like this record.
Yeah. Again, it's more acoustic-y a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, some great songs on this. Good to See You, Silver and Gold, Daddy Went Walking, Buffalo Springfield Again, where he's...
That's a good song.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be gimmicky, but he talks about the old days, and I think this is around the time they were getting back together, and he was about to tour, and they had performed at the Bridge show as a benefit, and he was going to tour with them. Then he said, "Fuck it, I'm not doing it."
Yeah, I think one of the later Neil Young records. This is a good one to pick up for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I don't have this on vinyl. Are You Passionate? It's next. Pretty good record. What's interesting about this, he's backed by Booker T and the MGs. So it's a little more soulful, funky for Neil Young. I don't remember the song so much, but it has a good sound to it. And this was in my car too when I was driving around the last few weeks. So everything that I was reminded of on this is really good. So Neil Young with Booker T and the MGs, Are You Passionate? Then we go for a record I don't only have on CD, Living with War. Now this was Neil Young getting all protesty during the Gulf Wars and the weapons of mass destruction, I should say, that period after 9/11. And he did two versions, and I forgot why. He had a whole chorus of people yelling the stuff out against Bush and against the war. It's a very preachy record. There's a song called Let's Impeach the President, which I think is more important right now than it was.
Yes. They could re-release that single.
Exactly. There's a song called Shock and Awe. There's a song called The Restless Consumer, Flags of Freedom, Looking for a Leader, Roger and Out, America. And then they do like a thing, America the Beautiful. These song, America Beautiful. And this is around the time period when he got back on the road with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. And a lot of people in the typical, I hate to say this and I hate to get political, some of the red states started booing him because they were like really dumping on Bush. And, you know, the American flags were flying, and there's whole interviews in that documentary. If you ever get a chance to watch it, really from fans. I paid all this money and I don't want them preaching to me about, you know, that kind of stuff. Get off my lawn, you maggots. That's enough of that. Chrome Dreams 2. Okay, this is probably a lot of, I don't remember this record at all, to be honest with you. Do you know it?
I do not know that one, no.
Okay. Chrome, anyway, what year are we? We're in, everybody's fallen asleep, 2007. There we go. And then 2008, do I have? I don't have that. You have Fork in the Road?
Nope.
Okay. Now, after that, in 2010, I love this record. It's called Le Noise. It's produced by Daniel Lanois, and it's pretty much only Neil Young with Daniel. And Neil Young is in a house with his guitar, just playing alone and singing. Some are soft songs, some are loud. If you know Daniel Lanois' production,
I love Daniel Lanois.
And U2, and you know, he's got a dirty, thick sound. And Neil Young has some vocal effects going on, and echoes and tape loops and things. And this is up there with maybe one of my last great favorite records. Not everyone likes this record. I think it's well worth searching out. The vinyl's very rare, but you can get the CD. It's just,
yeah, I love Daniel Lanois, another Canadian, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Did the soundtrack to Sling Blade, and an amazing record. Again, I put this very high on the list. Again, it's probably not for everybody because it's not like Harvest, but it's listenable. It's moody. It's just, it's somehow, you know how records will click they hit you at a time. They just seem perfect. I remember I got this CD and I was driving around Golden Gate Park in San Francisco on a really foggy day alone. I forgot why. And it's just, I kept playing it, and it just was the right mood for that song.
I'm just going to slide this in here while you're talking.
What is that?
This is a comp I bought in Australia. This is a Neil Young greatest hits. And interesting, there's some different songs on here, like Southern Pacific from Reactor is on this.
Wow.
The Loner's on here.
What label is that?
Comes a Time, we talked about that earlier. So, and Like a Hurricane from Stars and Bars. So there's some different selections on this. And it was just something I bought in Sydney in a used record store. It was Australia produced record.
Reprise Records?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Might even actually be Japanese, because that's the Japanese inserts.
Wow. Are we on our 4th hour yet here?
Yeah, we're getting there. What do you got left?
I got a handful, but not a ton. The next record, again, is one of my favorites. It didn't click right away, but I love Psychedelic Pill. And it's long, jammy. It's actually Neil Young, the closest I think he's done in decades. That is psychedelic. It's a lot of long 15-minute songs, jams. repetitive things. Uh, it's like 3 LPs, so it's huge.
That's cool.
But it's again more like the Crazy Horse type. I don't know if it's just it goes on and on, but it's really a great guitar-based Neil Young record, which a lot of the stuff is. This is the last of the real guitar things that I really like, and it's a very jammy, improvisational album, and I think it's really good. I really like Psychedelic Pill. Do you have any more?
I got one more.
What year?
The last one.
Oh, okay. Well, then I got a few before that.
Okay.
A Letter Home. Okay. This is an experiment in terror in a weird way. This is Neil Young recording an album of covers at Third Man Records with Jack White.
Oh, cool.
And he records it in the Voiceograph phono booth, which is like a big, almost like a big telephone booth that Jack White has at Third Man Records.
Okay.
So it's almost like a direct to disc and so it sounds very old, almost like Alexander Graham Bell. It's processed. It's effects driven, not effects driven from the guitar stuff, just because it's lo-fi in a way. So literally he's recording in this booth direct to this thing. It's kind of like in a photo booth, right? And you're taking pictures. And it's kind of a cool thing. I remember for a while, I think it kind of bombed and you could get it really, really cheap. That's when I picked it up. But I don't know if it's still available like that. It's really interesting. He does songs like Girl from North Country, the Dylan song, Needle of Death by Bert Jansch, Early Morning Rain, the Gordon Lightfoot song. There you go, another Canadian.
There you go.
Willie Nelson song, Crazy. Tim Hardin song, Reason to Believe. On the Road Again, another Willie Nelson song. My Hometown, Bruce Springsteen. And I Wonder If I Care As Much, an Everly Brothers song. So it's kind of
wow, so it's a real ode to a lot of greats.
Yeah, it's got a CD and it's one of these like over the kill boxes. If it's around and you can see it cheap, it's worth getting. Cool book. So it's just him and Jack White. So it's kind of like an experimental record, and going through all this shit. What I love about Neil Young is how he's willing to just record and put things out. Sometimes he pulls back and doesn't want things out, changes his mind. But I mean, look at this. This is a lot of records for any one artist to put out.
Right.
Before we get to the last one, which you can do, I'll do this one, which I like this. Story Tone. And there are a couple I'm missing. There's an album he did called Earth that I'm missing and I don't have. And so there's several we're missing. One record of this is very acoustic based and it's really good. I'd say Greendale too, and Prairie Wind, I forgot, but whatever. I like this record a lot. This is about 5 years ago, 2014, so 6 years ago. Again, another book project, but there's some electric stuff and some acoustic stuff. Okay, I think we're coming up to the final record, right? Is everybody still with us? Nobody died during this, the making of this Neil Young.
Well, we can go out on a high because this is a good record. Colorado, back with Crazy Horse, or what's left of Crazy Horse, and yeah, what did you think of this? This was a.
I love this record. Niels Lofgren's back with them again.
Yes.
I don't know how to explain it. Just a really good record. There's a nice mix of songs. It's like he's trying.
Also with the single.
Oh yeah, do I have that? No. Oh yeah.
This has Rainbow of Colors, which was live in Portland in 2019, and Truth Kills, which I don't know if that was some throwback song or something.
This is a good sounding record too. Yeah. It sounds
like
it's
a really good sounding record.
Sounds like he's trying again. Not that he doesn't try, but it just,
It's
yeah,
a great inner sleeve, eh?
yeah, yep.
Yeah, the I will say this is not a cheap record. This is like a $60 record in Canada.
Was it? Well, we
Yeah,
have a better exchange rate right now, so I don't
right.
think I didn't pay $60, but yeah, I don't remember what I did.
And this is part of the archives.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So it's got the good sound.
So I don't know what else to say about Neil. Any closing comments about Neil? I mean, we said it all. Amazing catalog, almost
Yeah,
too much.
amazing catalog. I mean, love it or like some of it. I mean, amazing artist. I mean, one of the greatest of all time, right?
Right, right.
Um, I think one of my favorite Neil Young moments, that for a guy that doesn't like really have a sense of humor, but I love the when he's on oh crap, late night talk show host
Jimmy Fallon,
Jimmy Fallon. Have you seen the two Neils?
and he does his impression.
Yeah,
Totally great.
brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think that just shows that he can have fun, because that's it's just so well done.
You know, it's funny. He's a perfectionist to a point, but it's kind of like he picks and chooses how perfect he can be. It seems. Again, we're outsiders, and we don't know what's going on. When you're an artist, you know, you can't argue with people. People say, "Oh, you should put this out. You should put that out," but he puts more out than almost anyone else. Maybe Dylan puts as much out, especially with the bootleg series he's been doing lately. I can't
Right,
imagine McCartney puts a lot out from people from the '60s. There aren't only a
right.
handful, and
Yeah,
he's
maybe
probably
Van Morrison, right? He always throws an album out.
oh yeah, yeah. But Neil Young
Yeah.
stuff, and he's one of the only ones of those guys that really kept with a young audience. I mean, these young rockers and young, indie artists have really,
Yes. Well, I
grappled.
think super smart working with Pearl Jam, working with Jack White, working with Sonic Youth, keeping
Absolutely.
your young and fresh, right? Accepting the new music.
Right. And except for
I
that 80s period of those 5 or 6 years, whatever, he didn't seem to go with what was trendy. Maybe trans is the only one. And I don't know what was on his mind then. It didn't work. Um, but he tried, It seems
Yeah,
like he didn't almost take it seriously, where Paul McCartney tried to take it too seriously. And to me, it kind of fucked up, but that's just a personal opinion. Okay, I think after 6 hours here, we've hit the Neil Young. What time is it?
right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like no, never mind. I lost it.
Okay. This is a 90-minute. This is a
I
90
must be
minute.
getting hungry.
Yeah, 90-minute video at least. Edwin,
War and
thank.
Peace. It's like War and Peace.
It totally is. This is like psychedelic pill. Check that out album if you like psychedelic-y, jammy stuff. Check that out. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be up soon by tomorrow. And the Neil Young catalog. Please write your comments and subscribe. I'll put a link to Edwin's channel way up in Canada. So long distance charges may be incurred
That's right.
if you subscribe to him. But and someday we'll open our borders and we'll meet each other. I
That would
think
be
I want
awesome.
to go up there rather than you need to come down here. You don't want to be here.
As the crow flies, we're not very far apart.
No, we're like
You know,
what, 4 hours?
yeah, not even. Like I actually, where I live, we almost sit on the 49th parallel, right? And when you go to Victoria, south of me, you're actually equal to the U.S. at that point. You're
Right.
below the 49th parallel.
I haven't been to Victoria in about 20 years, but that was flying into it. So since I've been in Seattle, I've only driven that weekend to see Paul McCartney where you were there. So that was my
Yes,
first time there. So at some point I'll be there. But anyway, let's wrap this
awesome.
up. Thank you, Edwin. Neil Young, write comments, questions, if corrections, if we flub some, and if there's some things we missed, we know we did, but that's it. So Neil Young, thank you, and Mazzy loves you, VC.
Peace, guys. Thank you.